before we get into this episode, there's something that might be of interest that I wanted to tell you about. Scene and Herd, who run this podcast, have been asked by Scotland Food and Drink to undertake a strategic review of the Scotland Food and Drink Excellence Awards. Now, these Excellence Awards have been going for almost 20 years and are a huge mainstay of the food and drink sector. But it's time to ensure that they're still relevant. So if you have ever been involved in the Scotland Food and Drink Excellence Awards, or even if you've ever had an opinion about them, we would love for you, please, to complete our survey. So if you go to the On Farm Twitter, which is at @on_farm UK, and click the link in the bio, there will be a tab in there that will take you to the survey, and it should only take you a very short while to complete, but we would be enormously grateful.
Hello, it's producer Dave with this episode of On Farm. We are in Aviemore this time, meeting a falconer with a very interesting and innovative idea for protecting sheep and livestock from predatory eagles.
The dogs themselves live with sheep 24/7. And now if you've got a wild eagle flying over a flock of sheep during the lambing season and you've got a big wolf-looking dog wandering around, eagles basically won't mess with wolves in the wild because they could get injured. It's just one thing that they're going to give up the kill to and go elsewhere.
And as we'll hear in this chat, there is an offer for farmers worried about eagle predation to come forward and say they're interested in trialling these guardian dogs on their farms. Keep listening to find out more about that.
I'm Jonny Ames, and I own the sort of falconry business called Rothiemurchus Falconry, and we partnered with the estate Rothiemurchus about a year and a half ago and set up our falconry business.
So we're just about, 3/4 of a mile outside Aviemore,
Yeah.
the sort of busy town of Aviemore, and you're on a sort of a location here with quite a few different rural pursuit type businesses. You're here and you can go fishing. What are all the various things that you can do here?
I believe that they do probably everything you could imagine. So there's
That's
fishing.
a rope course, I think.
Exactly. Fishing, falconry, that's like tree zone where people go and do the tree stuff, quad biking, horseback riding, archery, axe throwing, everything. Water sports, everything you could imagine.
Absolutely brilliant.
We did a experience this morning where we were flying birds with people that came in to have a go at doing it themselves. And then after that we had a private display. So people came in to sit down and then watch a display of the birds flying, basically.
Absolutely brilliant.
And then where we're going now, we've got the fishery down here, which is out to the left-hand side. It's a really good place for wildlife.
Oh my goodness.
Very
We've
picturesque.
just crossed over a bridge and it's all opened out into...
Yeah, stunning, I suppose, little trout locks, aren't they? And they stock it full of rainbow trout in here. And those guys at the back there are having a fishing lesson, I believe. They have got wild brown trout in there as well, but there's a lot of rainbow in there, basically. And then that's the main sort of fishery to the left.
Now that is you're like me, it's a bona fide Scottish accent you've got there.
Yeah, I'm originally from just outside of London. So we moved up here a year and a half ago, me and my wife and 2 kids. And like I said, partnered with the estate and haven't looked back. So where we're going now, we've got the lovely sort of picturesque fishery to the left, and then we are now going up through the old fish farm to where we are now converting it into a bird of prey centre and back into a public area.
So Jonny, you've been here a year, you say, with your family, or just over a year
and a half.
Year and a half. Was there a falconry business before, or are you setting it up from scratch?
No, this has been set up from scratch, basically. Yeah, I contacted the estate because my parents have got a bird of prey centre down, like say, just outside of London where we're from. And me and my wife have been looking to try and, get somewhere more rural and love Scotland. So I contacted quite a few different places, and out of all of the places we contacted, I think that, Rothiemurchus was the best suited. And like I say, we moved up and built all the aviaries and did all the work, and away we went.
So you've been involved in falconry your whole life then? You've grown up on
You've
grown up in a falconry business?
Yeah, like I say, I was 10 years old when it opened, and before that my dad had birds of prey at home, and used to go round and do, school talks and stuff like that before he opened his centre. We started off by taking people out to a field on the estate to fly the birds, and it was really popular. So we took the plunge and invested into making more of what we'd call a proper centre. We're about 80% complete now. There's a little bit more tidying up and stuff to finish, but as you can see, these are the aviaries, and they're all looking pretty stunning.
So wood-clad.
The aviaries are in keeping with the national park here, because it's all, locally sourced wood, so on and so on. And then the aviaries themselves are designed so that the birds can't injure themselves. Front of our sort of windows on the aviaries are made out of plastic bars, and this allows the birds to, they cannot damage themselves and keeps them in perfect condition.
There's a very impressive fellow looking at us with his beady eyes through the window here. What we're looking at?
A peregrine falcon, that one.
I didn't like to guess, but that was my thought.
Yeah, fastest creature in the world on record, and she's a display bird that comes out and flies in a display to show people, how fast a peregrine can be. In here is a Mardo. Mardo's a Harris hawk, but he is hiding somewhere, so we'll have to see if he appears later.
Is that him making all the noise?
No, this is Phantom, and Phantom is a goshawk. So this is the hawk that we would get up here in the Highlands. You do get them across the UK, and their numbers did go very low, but now they are doing much better, and there's a lot more goshawks around. But she is, the best way to describe a goshawk is they can be psychopathic, and they like to kill everything that moves. And basically she was born in May, and she's being trained to we'd start a new experience in the winter. We are going to take people back to the origins of falconry, which is, people used to use these birds, we believe, to catch their own dinner. And 4,000 years ago is when we think it roughly started, in the Far East, in China. And anyway, we're starting this experience that we're going to call a catch, cook and camp. So you're going to take this goshawk out, you're going to catch yourself a pheasant, and then you're going to cook it over the campfire and camp out with your birds to take you back, to where it all began. So that's going to be her job. Taking people back in time.
Doesn't sound like she's very happy about it just at the moment.
Oh no, that's just her. She's actually quite just talking to us for food, really.
Right.
Saying, feed me. And then this one...
Is it a snowy owl?
No, it is a spectacled owl. And it is very white, but it actually comes from the Amazon rainforest.
Oh, wow.
And again, very noisy, because she is hand-reared. So these noisy ones kind of think they're humans, and they're calling to you saying, hurry up and feed me.
I want my tea. I want my tea. Yeah.
She's already had 2 meals today, so you'd think she would be a bit quieter.
Well, we're a bit interesting and a bit different, I suppose, as well, aren't we?
We've got Fiddick in here. Fiddick's having a little swing on his perch at the moment, and he's a great grey owl. So they are a big owl that comes, you get them right round the top of the world, actually. So like Scandinavia through Russia and into Alaska and Canada. And you do get them up into the Arctic, but they're a forest owl. So you'd only get that bird as far as the forest goes, basically.
Right.
But very impressive looking owl.
They're all very impressive, aren't they?
Very fluffy. Keep himself warm in the winter. Right, we're going to go up to... This one is Loco, making all the noise. And as Loco's name suggests, he is completely crazy. And there he is. This is a striated caracara from the Falkland Islands.
Oh, right.
So where they're only found on the Falkland Islands, they are a very unique bird of prey. Doesn't really fly. Isn't scared of people because they got no predators. And
you mean this one particularly, or generally?
All of them.
Right.
Yeah, because they're an island bird, they've evolved into a really heavy bird of prey for their size wingspan. So they do everything pretty much on the ground. They nest on the ground, they can catch their dinner on the ground, they don't have to fly away from predators, so they're just a big noisy crazy mess.
So they're hunting on foot?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
They eat a lot of baby penguins, unfortunately.
Oh dear.
So they can run up and grab stuff, and they like to eat a lot of shellfish and stuff like that. And then this one's a bit of an old lady. She's 23 years old, and she's a female steppe eagle. And steppe eagles come from Russia, and they're like a smaller version of the golden eagle that you find up here in Scotland.
That's seriously impressive up close, isn't it?
I know, and she's smaller compared to these ones.
What have we got here?
So this is the white-tailed sea eagle, or white-tailed eagle, whichever you prefer. But basically the white-tail is the biggest eagle in Scotland. She's got like an 8-foot wingspan. But they are a fish eagle really by adaptation. But they do like to eat other stuff as well.
Yeah. We'll maybe come on to that a little bit, because we talk to a lot of farmers on the podcast who, certainly in areas where they're being reintroduced, are often a bit concerned about them predating on sheep and lambs and things.
So it's a very hot topic, isn't it, in the Highlands? And this whole eagles eating lambs thing, you know, is gone on for quite a while. And sometimes you feel like, you know, leaving farmers on their own to deal with it maybe isn't the answer and isn't fair to do it. And you have some conservationists that are out there completely and utterly denying that eagles kill lambs and saying they are only scavenging, and you know, trying to say that farmers are making it up and stuff like this. And then you have some farmers out there that say they're killing hundreds of lambs every year. And the fact is, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to look at that eagle and realise it's powerful enough to kill a lamb. At the end of the day, they hunt geese and stuff in the wild as well. So if you can kill a fully grown goose, you can pick a lamb up.
Absolutely, yeah.
How much they're scavenging and how much they're killing, I don't know if there's any scientific data out there that says it, but the fact is they probably are killing lambs, they probably are scavenging on lambs, and we don't believe it's fair to just ignore the farmers.
I think, Johnny, you're going to tell me in a little while that you've got at least one suggestion of an answer to that, but let's finish looking at all the birds first, and then we can maybe go on to that.
We have an idea to try and help coexistence, really. And like when you look at this next eagle, she's a female golden eagle, which is the other eagle that you get in the Highlands. You know, you are getting these eagles in the lower parts of Scotland as well now.
Yeah.
And this is a formidable predator. She's capable of catching a roe deer if she wants to. So they are, at the end of the day, large predators that could pose a problem to somebody's livestock. So if people are worried, this is why we feel we want to try new ideas to help coexistence between these amazing birds, but also people trying to earn a living.
The word you just used was coexistence.
That's the idea.
And I think that's really key, isn't it? I think people growing and producing food in Scotland, people that are using, it's so noisy, people that...
We'll get round the corner and it'll muffle him a little bit.
We'll stop annoying them. Yeah.
Now.
People that use the Scottish countryside for leisure pursuits, and, you know, these groups of people have to coexist.
Well, that is it, isn't it? And I understand that conservationists, like, I'm biased, I love seeing wildlife back in the countryside, you know. But I do also get, you know, I've worked a lot in Africa as well, and people need to try and move forward. We are not like we were 100 years, 200 years ago. The human population is so much greater all over the world. We have to find a new future, don't we? And now we are getting predators back on the landscape. This over here is our idea to try and help with that coexistence between predator and farmer.
So at first glance, Johnny, I thought I was looking at a field of just sheep.
Yeah.
But it turns out that one of these white fluffy animals is not a sheep.
No, these are our Maremmas, and they are livestock guardian dogs. So basically they're from Italy. They date back to the Romans, so they are a very old breed. And this old breed of dog for thousands of years now has wandered around protecting sheep and goats from wolves. And that is their main role where they come from. This one, we got two Maremmas here. So we've got a 9-month-old boy called Luigi, who's very big at 9 months old. And then you've got Peaches, who is 12 months old now. And then you've got 5 random old sheep that they're living with, which is part of their training.
So tell me how that's working then. So the idea of these dogs is that they safeguard and protect flocks of sheep from predating birds of prey. And my guess is that right now they're in here learning how to do that.
Yeah, so at the moment we're at the very, very beginning stage of the project. We announced it obviously earlier, you know, a bit earlier on, and we're just hopefully going to set this up as a sort of non-profit so that we can try and get the government and people like that to actually pay for farmers to have these dogs, if that makes sense. So basically, the dogs themselves live with sheep 24/7, you know, all year round.
So they stay in the fields?
Stay in the fields. The only time I can ever get them to go in the shed is if I shut them inside. If it's raining, they're out with the sheep. They don't care about the weather. And then the whole idea behind this is that, like, Luigi there is a big dog. He, to an eagle, will look like a wolf. Now, if you've got a wild eagle flying over a flock of sheep during the lambing season and you've got a big wolf-looking dog wandering around, the hope is eagles basically won't mess with wolves in the wild because they could get injured. It's just one thing that they're going to give up the kill to and go elsewhere. So if you've got an eagle flying above a big flock of sheep lambing, and then you've got two of these big dogs wandering around, which, as you can see, are 100% great with sheep, the eagle should just think no thank you and go elsewhere to look for food because they are just the top predator and they're going to go somewhere else. The other thing is if they can bark when the eagle's in the sky, it'll make them look even, scarier to the eagle. And we were really happy that there's a shepherdess recently sent us a video. She lives in the Alps in Switzerland. She has 5 Maremmas living with her sheep. And when they were out in the mountains, they had a huge vulture above the sheep and the dogs were instinctively barking at it. And she sent us a video of these dogs trying to drive this vulture away because they saw it as threatening towards the sheep, basically.
So this method is already being practiced effectively elsewhere around the world?
Not specifically for birds of prey, but for most predators, yes. Like I said, in Africa, there's a charity called the Cheetah Conservation Fund that we stole the idea from, because they one side of their cheetah centre is dedicated to breeding a bigger breed of dog than these, but these livestock guardian dogs go to farmers, they stop the cheetahs killing livestock, and then it stops farmers shooting the cheetahs. So it's their sort of coexistence method that we've stolen, if that makes sense.
Okay, so it's a trial, a pilot at the moment?
It's a complete pilot. Like I say, we're still going through all the paperwork to set it up as the non-profit. And then the idea is that we'll probably get them to do a lambing season here on this estate. And then we want them to head off to the West Coast, where a farmer's having problems with eagles. And then try and get some funding, for an independent study to say whether it's made any difference to eagles going near lambs or not, basically.
It's interesting. What response have you had so far from maybe the National Farmers Union of Scotland or other farmers groups?
So far, we've had mostly positive feedback from people saying that, if it proves that it works, then it would be a good asset, to farmers in Scotland. The only negative feedback we've had is from some other falconers and conservationists that say that we've promoted the fact that eagles do kill lambs and we shouldn't be omitting it, which I again think is just the wrong attitude.
Yeah, so turning a blind eye doesn't help anybody, I suppose.
Trying to deny the facts, and they try and say there is no evidence that they kill sheep. But, I just think that basically what they're saying is that farmers are lying. And I believe that that's not the right attitude to have, like I say. And when we moved to Scotland and, we found out more about the project problems that eagles have been causing, we looked into livestock guardian dogs and we couldn't find that anybody had tried them yet up here. So that's why we decided, as falconers, people that understand eagle behaviour and have a lot of we train a lot of dogs to work with the birds, for the sort of falconry hunting side of it, that we would give the dogs a go, especially after seeing how well they've worked in other countries.
It's interesting you say that as falconers, because you're quite well placed, Jonny, to understand the interaction between the dogs and the livestock and the eagles because of what you do here.
Well, exactly. And like I said, you understand an eagle behaviour is key, and the fact that we know that they don't like top predators like wolves and bears. If you've got a big dog like Luigi wandering around, then hopefully, like I say, that will be probably enough on its own. Now, what we have actually been doing is we have a Frankenstein eagle that we've made that we hang from the bottom of a drone.
Like a scarecrow kind of eagle.
Literally, yeah. And it flies through the paddock, and Luigi just sits there and looks good because, that's what he thinks his job is for some reason. But Peaches, the female, she will bark and drive it away, basically. Instinctively doesn't want that thing anywhere near those sheep.
But we're actually right next to where you demonstrate and show the hawks and the eagles here. What's their reaction when you're doing that?
They never see them. I have to shut these dogs away in the barn every time that the birds are flown. And again, that's why we're trying to get some funding from the government for this, because we need a bigger paddock away from the centre so that the birds can go and live with sort of 30 odd sheep in a big paddock, so we don't have to keep putting them away. But like I say, we wanted to bring them here and demonstrate it to try and get that next stage going.
You think about dogs and sheep in a field together, leave them there overnight. That would be very much against the instincts of most farmers, because you'd expect the dogs to worry the sheep or cause problems, but they are completely ignoring the sheep in this field.
Yeah, that's like I say, it's bred into them. Thousands of years of breeding to be a livestock guardian dog. They're very, they're very calm, very chilled out. I mean, these are puppies as well, really. He's only 9 months old, but they're very calm, and they just, they're bred to live with livestock, and they don't, chase them. I mean, they are puppies, so they do play with each other now and again, but the sheep just move out the way. And then, as you can see now, like, the sheep are all just laying in the sun with the dogs.
Yeah, there's no additional stress.
Do not care that the dogs are here. If there was a collie in there, these sheep would have a completely different attitude right now. But because of the disposition of these dogs, they pick up really quickly that the dogs are not a problem. And honestly, it took 2 days. These are old Shetland sheep that have been rounded up by collies their whole life. And we did that on purpose to see whether they would always be petrified of the dogs. But it took 2 days before. I mean, they bully Luigi and try and steal his dog biscuits and stuff. So, honestly, I can't stress enough how much the sheep don't care about these dogs.
And I'm looking at Luigi and, oh goodness
Peaches.
me, Peaches. Mario theme there, isn't it?
Exactly, my kids there coming through.
So I'm looking at Luigi and Peaches, and they're so placid lying here on the ground. They're not reacting to anything, least of all us.
No.
I can't imagine them getting too excited, even if an eagle was attacking.
I know, it's amazing. When something new does turn up, they turn into different dogs. So when we have, like, trying to think of an example. Oh, the other day, because they're not used to cattle, because they've obviously only ever lived with the sheep, but there's a cattle farm here as well, and they got out and were on the other side of the fence. Well, the dogs were horrified because they'd never seen cows before, so they were trying to, like, bark, and they were standing with the sheep thinking, what the hell is that massive creature? And they looked like different dogs then. And then the other reason that we've picked this breed is because they're actually really good with people. So you know how we've got the Dangerous Dog Act in the UK, which everyone's going crazy about at the moment. And then you've also got the right of access in Scotland. One of the other questions we've had is whether the dogs would be too dangerous for that. The great thing about this particular breed is they are known to be rubbish if you want them for burglars, because they're not going to, they will lick someone to death before they attack anybody. They're even good with other dogs. So on paper, they seem to be the best dogs, and since they've been here, they meet strangers every day that are coming in to do bird of prey experiences, because we bring people to meet the dogs as well, and they are unbelievably friendly towards people. And then anything strange or a predator, that's when they turn into a guard dog.
It's really an interesting idea, and like you say, nothing else like it happening in Scotland or probably in the wider UK.
As far as I'm aware, no. I think the only people I've ever read online that are using livestock dogs is actually a farm in Somerset, and they're using them for chickens. They live with the chickens to stop foxes coming into the chickens, but that's all I've ever heard of. But again, if you've got, if foxes are coming in, ravens are coming in, whatever's causing problem to your livestock, if it's another animal, the dogs should drive that away.
So it's a really interesting experiment. It's obviously only in its quite early phases just at the moment. What's the ambition, Jonny? Where do you hope in 5-10 years' time to have got to with this?
What would be really nice is if it works. So that is
Yes.
the first thing we've got to try and see whether it works or not. Are they really going to make any difference? And at the end of the day, we need to get them, over to the West Coast on a farm, see if it works. If we can prove that it works, the long-term aim would be to bring enough dogs over from Italy that farmers are self-sufficient with the dogs. So if we could get enough funding to supply enough farmers to have dogs, if it works again, that we basically, the farmers can breed the dogs themselves, raise them with the parents, the adult dogs are going to teach the younger dogs what to do, and they give them to other farms. And then it's something that will last forever. And again, if it works, it's that coexistence again, that you've then got a way to help farmers coexist with these predators forever.
It would be a fairly significant revolution in farming practice, wouldn't it, if that happened?
It'd be great, but like I say, we are not trying to say that it, is 100% yet. We've got to do that first pilot project with these 2 dogs and see what the outcome is. And then, it'd be amazing if it works. This is why we're trying to get some help now from the government and other sort of conservation organisations, because at the end of the day, we're just a tiny little company that's just started, and we could do with some help from these people that, should be helping farmers and predators coexist at the end of the day.
You'd be able to get funding if it was an innovation in, say, digital financial technology, or you were some kind of innovative startup in Edinburgh. This is innovative thinking, just like that would be, though.
That's what we're really, really hoping that, like I say, once it is registered as a non-profit, we'll get some help, basically.
They don't look like they've got a lot riding on their shoulders just now, do they?
No, they're so chilled out. They're just laying in the sun with the sheep, and that's the thing with them. Like I say, you don't have to. They have been just a blessing to train. Like, we've trained other dogs. I've had pointers, and I've got an English setter at the moment. Like, the English setter is a moron compared to these dogs. He's amazing at working, but in every other aspect of his life, he's a moron. Okay, whereas these guys,
I sympathise.
Exactly, but these guys are just 100% great all the time. They're gentle. They're big dogs. But I've got a 3-year-old son that walks in there and feeds the dogs, and they just plod along behind him very gently, wait for their dinner. They're really very soft with people, I suppose, very easy to train. If you tell them off, they are like, okay, I'm really sorry. You know what I mean? They're not that headstrong, so very easy.
They're kind of Labradorish, aren't they, facially?
Yeah, they're like a big
fluffy Labrador.
A big version, aren't they? And they've got that sort of disposition of being easy to, like, an easy dog to train. Because I suppose if you are a farmer out in the Alps or somewhere like that, and you've got your sheep in a herd, you can't have dogs that are running off wanting to do their own thing. They're going to have to listen to you and obviously stick with the sheep. So it must be a lot of their breeding to make them so, easy to work with.
Might be early days, but lots of farmers listen to the podcast, Jonny. Are you open to people getting in touch with you to maybe try this out, or is it a bit early for that at this stage?
Well, no, I'd love to be able to start trying to line farms up, because all we've been waiting for is the paperwork to be finished on the project to be a non-profit. But as soon as we can find a farm that will take them, we're going to try and get that funding to send them over to the West Coast and then have the study done. We want to send a member of staff with the dogs so the farmers don't have any, they don't have to do anything in this initial stage. Someone will go and look after the dogs, basically. Spend a good amount of time throughout the whole lambing season, and then see whether they've made any significant difference, basically. Especially if if there's a farmer out there that is desperate because there are eagles that they believe are killing their lambs, then that is where the dogs need to go.
It's been really interesting meeting you, Jonny. Thank you very much. We'll have to keep in touch, because it is going to progress, isn't it, in years to come. So we'll no doubt be back to talk to you again.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it'd be nice for you guys to come back once it's, or even when the dogs are at a farm, coming and visiting the dogs on the farm and seeing how they're doing.
Thanks, Jonny. Thank you very much.
No problem. And Luigi, you've just been asleep the whole time.
Yeah.
You're meant to be up. What are you doing? You having a little doze? He is honestly so dozy. He's just honestly such a lovely dog. I just think if I owned a farm, I'd love to just, imagine going out and having these big old dogs coming over and having a cuddle in the morning. And
I think I'd feel bad about leaving them in the field, though.
I do sometimes feel a bit guilty about leaving them out. But honestly, you try and put them in the shed and they won't go in there unless you shut them inside. They like being outdoors. They're bred for the Alps and those sort of mountains. That's what they do. They just follow sheep around and cope with all weathers and keep wolves away normally. Don't you, Luigi? You don't look like you'll fight a wolf, but you're meant to. Luigi, hello? What do you think? You going to guard against the wolf?
That's not a good advert for his savagery.
Is it? But as what I say, out of all of the livestock breeds, they're the smallest, and that's why we picked them, because of this disposition with people. So they shouldn't be a problem to any farmers under that Dangerous Dog Act, because the breed is known and notorious for being stupidly friendly with people.
Huge thanks then to Jonny Ames and to guardian dogs Luigi and Peaches and all the birds of prey here at Rothiemurchus Falconry Centre. I hope that's been an interesting listen, and I look forward to seeing what progress Jonny makes with the guardian dog idea in future. That's it for this episode. On Farm, as you surely know well by now, is made by the team at Scene&HerdPR and Marketing. Get in touch for any rural or foodie, PR, comms or other media needs. Other than that, we'll see you next time.